What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Straight Betting. Today's going to be a really good video, man. I truly think so. We got Wolves Thunder game 1. Obviously, you guys know me, big Wolves homer, but do watch a lot of the games. And I think I got a lot of stuff to bring to the channel. Took a ton of notes, so hopefully those pay off on this video. I can give you guys some good nuggets, all that good stuff. But before we do get into that, guys, I just wanted to ask you guys, please drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel if you're not. It just really is a big help, and it shows that you guys like the content and all that good stuff. It's a free way to support, so that would be very greatly appreciated. All right, guys, well, let's just get right into it, to be honest. I don't want to waste too much time. I know there's a lot of stuff to yap about, but there has not been a game since the last video came out, so not much to yap about, not much significant news, besides the fact that Nikola Jokic, absolute beauty, is going to drink a lot of beer over the next couple of days. That's about the biggest news that has came out since we recorded the last video. So good for Jokic, man. You deserved it. I'm sure, that's what a lot of people think after playing a 7-game series against OKC. So good for you, Jokic. Anyways, guys, starting off with the Wolves side of things, right? So like I said, I got a lot of stuff, a lot of thoughts. Move down to here. Yeah, just setting the stage, man. Obviously, we got a 7.5 point spread, 215 game total. Anytime OKC's at home, they're always live to blow a team out. Seems like it seems like if the Wolves cover the 7.5, it's probably going to be in a win. But if OKC wins the game, they're probably going to cover. That's kind of my thoughts here. But yeah, Wolves offense versus the Thunder defense. Look, starting off on star player, best player in the league, best player in the world. Just kidding. He's going to be there soon, though. Anthony Edwards, look, he's probably going to get blitzed basically every rep. There's going to be super aggressive gap help on drives. That's just how OKC plays, guys. And, I think I talked about this with Liam a while back, but we were kind of thinking, like, why does OKC give up all these catch-and-shoot threes? Why do they do all this? Why do they do all that? Well, it's because their strength of their defense is always going to be forcing turnovers and scoring in transition offense. Because what we saw over this past year is that OKC, you make them play in the half court, you make the role players step up, they're really a pretty mediocre offense. But in transition, forcing turnovers, that's how they're going to beat you. So blitzing, that's an easy way to force a turnover. They're going to do that to Ant. And of course, they don't want him to get going as well. I'm expecting it's going to be a ton of that. Maybe if it's not Hartenstein or Chet in the screen, then that might be a switch. But, the gap help on drives is going to be absurd. Like, they are not going to let Ant just get downhill with ease. Like, there's going to be people meeting him. They're going to be helping off the Jaden McDaniels of the world, the Naz Reids, the guys who are spotting up for the Wolves. They're going to be helping off, leaving those guys to stop Ant and contain him on the drives. It's going to be tough, man. He's going to see a mix of Dort, Cason Wallace, Caruso on him, mainly Dort and Cason Wallace. I think. So yeah, man. Ant. My thoughts on Ant, honestly, in the series is that I think he knows what's going to happen on the drives. He's going to catch on to it very quick. Ant's always going to be looking for a shot. We know that. I don't think he's going to force a ton of drives. And, he has been making the right play, and I do expect him to do that. It's actually, it's a necessity for him to make the right play if the Wolves want to have a chance to win. So he's going to do that a lot. But I do think that Ant is maybe even going to somewhat abandon drives sometimes. And, if he does get that switch onto someone else, I think he's going to be hunting his step back threes, his isolation threes a lot. And I kind of think that's going to determine on a game-to-game basis if Ant's going to go over his point line, right? It's like, okay, does Ant have it going in the isolation threes? Similar to like James Harden, right? It's like when a guy has it going in isolation threes, there's not much you can do about it. So that's kind of how I think Ant's going to go. It's going to be very tough sledding for him, though. So look, I don't expect a huge series from Ant. And yeah, man, probably have him around like 25, 26 points per game on the series. And I might even be, a little bit high on that. But it's going to be tough, man. It's going to be very, very tough. Next thought that I have on the Wolves side of things, Rudy Gobert is not going to be able to be used as a screener, right? If Rudy Gobert is used as a screener, and he hasn't been used as a screener a ton in this postseason, but if he's used as a screener, they're going to have to pass it to him in the short roll, right? It's kind of like what you have to do. He's not a threat in the short roll, and the defense wants you to pass the ball to Rudy in the short roll because, he's not good in the short roll. He's not a great instinctual passer. He's obviously not going to drive to the cup off of the short roll and like put it on the floor and score. Like, that's just not good offense. So one of my thoughts here is that Julius Randle is actually going to be used as a screener a ton And I don't think Rudy's going to be used as a screener almost at all. I think Rudy's going to be pretty strictly posted up in the dunker spot, kind of mucking up the spacing. So right off rip, man, I think it's going to be a ton of Julius screener usage. Maybe they get the switch there, and if it's a favorable matchup for Julius, then he'll be in the post. But they're going to send a double right away. But also, if it's like a blitz and it's Julius Randle, he's going to be in for a lot of playmaking out of that short roll. So yeah, man, I don't think that Rudy's going to do much as a screener due to the blitzes, due to OKC's tenacious defense. And I kind of think he might not be very impactful in this series. And we'll get to a little bit of that more, but that's my second Wolves offense takeaway. And of course, guys, I do have 2 official props. I probably should have said this earlier. I do have 2 official props, and I will give those out after I'm done going over the Wolves offense overall. I will put time codes down below on that. And sorry, guys, I definitely should have mentioned that a little bit earlier if you're not interested in this type of stuff. My third bullet point that I have written down here, man, is that I don't think Randall's going to be able to post up or isolate. If you think about the starting lineups, the matchups, putting Chet on a non-shooter is always what you want to do. So I think Chet's going to be on Rudy Gobert. Obviously, maybe Rudy could be okay on the offensive glass there. That's probably like the one advantage. That's probably the one thing that he'll need to be elite at to stay on the floor is to dominate Chet on the offensive glass. And, maybe that could happen in a game or two. But I think that's Rudy's key to success. I think that putting Hartenstein on Julius Randle makes so much sense. I don't know how much Hartenstein's going to play in this series because I think that he played a ton, or I know that he played a ton. Sorry, guys, I'm switching my camera up. I thought it was about to fall a little bit. Okay, there we go. I know that he played a ton last series because they needed to match the Jokic minutes. But, yeah, so, obviously I expect Hartenstein to start, but I wouldn't put it past OKC starting Caruso. I think he's their better player, their better option to impact winning. So, yeah, if it is Hartenstein and Holmgren starting, I do expect Isaiah Hartenstein to guard Julius Randle, and I think that could be really tough for Julius. I think he's going to have his outside shot falling for him to have success in that matchup. I just don't think the bully ball is going to work right against Hartenstein. Hartenstein's strong as hell. He's 7 foot. He can move fluid enough, I think, to as long as it's not like a attacking closeout situation. I think Hartenstein could stay in front of Julius, especially in those isolation post-up situations. So, yeah, man, I think that's going to be tough on Julius Randle. And when it's not Hartenstein in the game, we just saw in Game 7, Nikola Jokic guarding or getting guarded by Alex Caruso. And that dude just makes it impossible to make an entry pass. He's going to be very handsy. He's going to force turnovers. Since he's the smaller player, he's not going to get called for fouls either. So it's like, it's going to be tough, man. I actually kind of think that the Julius post-ups are just not going to be effective this series because if he's getting guarded by Hartenstein, like I said, I don't see that as an advantageous matchup for playing bully ball the way he wants to play, right? But then if it's Caruso, man, it's like, well, like, why are we even going to try to make a post entry, man? It's like, this dude is just like impossible to throw the ball into. So, yeah, I kind of think that, Minnesota goes away from Randle post-ups here. I don't expect it to be a big Randle series in isolation. I don't expect the usage to be there in isolation. Like I did said, man, that doesn't mean I'm out on Julius Randle in this series. I think it will be tough for him, but I think that him as a screener could be impactful, especially if they're blitzing Ant and Julius is playing like 4-on-3. I think he'll actually be very, very good in that situation. Or if he gets a advantageous matchup, which, let's be real, there isn't a ton, and all these OKC guys are just very handsy. They can, put their hands on the ball and like force a turnover very easily. So that could be a little dangerous too with the Randle post-ups. So yeah, but yeah, if they do get that switch and he's being used as a screener, I think he can find open shooters out of that. So main takeaway from that, man, is that I know we started on Ant. Julius, I'm not a fan of his scoring this series. I think that his assist makes sense, but since he did have a pretty good assist series, yeah, it's kind of priced that way. So I'll have some more Randle thoughts, but assists, I think it could be good for him that series. One of the best ways to increase your chances of success in sports betting is by always getting the best price in market, and that's why I am proud to shout out NoVig. NoVig is legal in 42 states, including California, Texas, South Carolina, and Minnesota. Since it's peer-to-peer, there doesn't have to be much house edge like you see on traditional sportsbooks, and because of that, when you look at lines on NoVig, they're going to be the best price in market a lot of the time. So do yourself a favor, try out NoVig. I have a sign-up link down below in the description. And when you make your first deposit, make sure to use code BETTN for a 50% deposit match up to $25. That's $25 they're giving you to play with. Do not leave that on the table. Make sure to use code BETTN. That's BETTIN when you make your first deposit. Next person, Jaden McDaniels. Look, man, Jaden McDaniels, When Hartenstein is off the court and Holmgren is on the court, he's going to get guarded by Chet, I believe, because he is like the outside of Rudy. Obviously, he's like the worst shooter on the Wolves. So look, he's going to be the guy who gets helped off on OKC's scheme, right? Randall post situations are going to see doubles. Anthony Edwards drives are going to see aggressive gap help. Anthony Edwards pick and rolls are very likely going to get blitzed or switched into gap help on drives. So they're going to be giving up stuff to the spot up guys, man. That's how I feel about this series. Wolves spot up guys, the Jadens, the Nas, the Dantes, the Mike Conleys, even the Nickeil Alexander Walkers. They're going to have to play good for the Wolves to step up. They're going to get the chances too. But Jaden is like also the guy who, it's like we're fine with him shooting. Jaden can also put the ball on the floor though, man. Like he's not just like reliant on hitting threes to go over his points props. He can put the ball on the floor. He can make a tilted defense pay for sure. He's got a great pull-up mid-range game. He can get to the cup. Great at finishing there. So, yeah, man, I think this is going to be a really big Jaden McDaniel series. And big fan of his line right away at 12.5. Obviously, he's going to be needed for defense, so minutes should be very, very good as well. Next guy, guys, this is someone you'll probably be able to tell, what I'm about to talk about after I talk about all the Wolves after this one. Massive Naz Reid series, guys. Massive Naz Reid series. When I think about this Wolves offense in the half court, I just don't, like I said, unless Gobert is absolutely dominating the offensive glass, I just think that it's going to be too hard for them to score with Rudy on the court, man. It's also a great spot for a sell high. Okay, what am I doing? Naz Reid over 16.5 PRA is a first play. Minus 115s, minus 110s, minus 105s out there. Second play is Rudy Gobert under 20.5 PRA. And yeah, some minus 120s out there as well. Like I said, guys, this is going to be a huge Naz Reid series. It's got to be, like I said, you got to have spacing for this offense to work against OKC. You just absolutely have to. You got to have the spot up guys who can, make people pay, right? Dante is like great at shooting if his shot's on. But if you're forcing Dante to put the ball on the ground against a swarming defense, that might not end well. Mike Conley, does he have the juice? I don't know. He has to be pretty left pretty wide open. I trust him to make smart decisions and stuff. I don't know. I think it's going to be a huge Jaden and Naz series because those are the two guys who can truly put the ball on the floor, finish at the cup, or catch and shoot and take a three. But Naz Reid is really like, the best shooter out of them, best floor spacer. Defensively, guys, I'll touch on this more as well, but I think the Wolves are going to go a ton of zone, and that makes zone defense covers up lack of rim protection, but it's also a good way to force the ball out of the Stars' hands and into the role players. We saw Denver do this all the time. It's a copycat league. Sorry, I just spit, man. Oh my gosh. He'll be good on defense too, I think, man. He's got size advantage. He can crash the offensive glass. We've seen like Aaron Gordon types have great offensive rebounding games. And I just think the minutes are going to be here, man. I think this is a huge Naz series. It was a Rudy series last series. Once Steph went out because the only way Golden State could score, man, was in the paint. So when Rudy was on defense, it's like, well, they can't score unless like Pods is hitting off the dribble threes or something. You know what I'm saying? So Rudy was amazing last series, and he was completely like impacting winning. We were in mostly close games and or leading game scripts, which is like a Rudy thing over Naz. So yeah, man, obviously against OKC, a team that can, score in bunches, right? It's like, okay, well, if the Wolves are playing from behind, it's going to be Naz Reid instead of Rudy Gobert on top of that. So yeah, man, I love for this to be a Naz series. I am not a fan of it being a Rudy series. So those are my two plays, man. Naz over PRA, 16.5. Rudy Gobert under 20.5 PRA. Really see the minutes being big time in Naz's favor over Rudy. And I'll touch a little bit more on Rudy a little bit later. But it's obviously a tough matchup for Rudy if he's only pretty much going to be sitting in the dunker spot, and he'll have to dominate the offensive glass to have a chance to go over or to even play enough minutes to go over, in my opinion. Obviously, OKC has got great rim protection. They pack the paint. They'll funnel stuff to catch and shoots. When is the last time you guys saw Rudy Gobert take a catch and shoot three? It won't be there in that series. So, yeah. Naz Reid over, Rudy Gobert under. Perfect. Do I have any other notes? I had a couple more notes here. So moving on to like Naz, Dante, and Conley. Like I said, man, I do think these guys are going to have to make shots. Dante played good in the last game. but he has been really struggling this postseason. If he's on, he's going to have a great series. Is he going to be on? I'm not so sure. There is a big problem here, kind of. The Wolves really lack ball handling, and this OKC team is obviously going to be trying to force turnovers, picking up full court. Nikhil and Dante act as the point guard, obviously the backup point guard, but a lot of the times Mike Conley does not close the game, and it's Nikhil or Dante. So Nikhil and Dante, like I said, I do think that there's a big chance that they have to step up and make plays in the series and get the opportunity to. However, depending on how the game's going, a couple early turnovers from either of them, which is like for sure in the range of outcomes with how OKC defends, could really get them out of rhythm, could get them benched. Mike Conley will bring a steady presence in terms of handling pressure. He will, but he doesn't bring the same juice in catch and shoot situations. He's a great catch and shoot guy, but he doesn't have that quick trigger like Dante and Nikhil do, and the range that Dante and Nikhil do, and he obviously doesn't have off the ball juice that those guys do. So yeah, like I said, man, I think it's a good way to, this might just be a feel out situation with the three guards because both are going to bring different stuff to the table. Like I said, at the end of the day, Nikhil's their best defender, probably their worst offensive player. Mike Conley, absolutely needed for handling ball pressure. Dante DiVincenzo, if he's on and can provide that spacing and that quick trigger three, he's going to be an absolute game changer. So I think that this is probably a wait and see, but you could, write a path for all three of these guys or write a path for, Dante and Na specifically, right? Like the turnover and stuff to going under to playing bad minutes. And that's kind of my thoughts on, those Wolves guards. So one final thing I did want to touch on from the Wolves side is that Aaron Gordon averaged 4 offensive rebounds against OKC. Julius Randle is a very similar player to Aaron Gordon in the way that they're built and the way that they have a motor on the offensive glass from time to time. I think, like I said, man, these teams watch film. I think something, especially when Hartenstein is not guarding Randle, if he can crash, if he's instructed to crash the offensive glass, which I think he will be, this is just going to be a spot where he could absolutely crush on the glass if he's engaged. A lot of the times he isn't engaged on the glass. So there's that. But like I said, man, this is a spot where he absolutely could crush on the glass. And I think he can. And I hope that he will. But yeah, just thought it was worth noting that, man, Aaron Gordon absolutely killed them on the glass. I think it was a lot of Chet that was guarding him, but like really anyone, Randle could work on the glass. So that was the last thing I wanted to mention. I think that, ladders are in play, like, like a 5 or 6 offensive rebound game randomly for Randle. Like I think will happen 1 or 2 times or 3 times this series. And yeah, so it's like maybe you could play in the upside there. But yeah, just think that Randle is going to be able to do a lot on the offensive glass here. And obviously his minutes will be safe, at least I think. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the Minnesota side. Like I said, my 2 plays were Gobert under 21.5 PRA, just out on his minutes, and not a fan of the matchup. One last thing for Gobert rebounding, Hartenstein will make it tough for him to get defensive rebounds, in the minutes that they share together. So that's another thing. Yeah, Naz Reid over 16.5 PRA, other official play. That one was minus 115 at Caesars. So yeah, in on Naz Reid's minutes, very in on the matchup for Naz Reid. So love Naz this series, kind of out on Rudy this series as well. All right, moving over to the OKC side of things. Look, man, this might be kind of boring. I'm not going to bring the same juice that I brought to the Wolves side of things, obviously because I'm a Wolves fan, but that's also not it. Like I said, I've mentioned this 2 or 3 times this podcast / video. It's a copycat league. OKC, Denver's defense is like genuinely not good at all. Like they're just not good at all. Like, yes, they are a smart team. They have Gordon and Brown, who are very solid individual defenders. I think that they're a high IQ bunch. So, I guess maybe on a playoff setting, they're a fine defense, but they're really not a good defense. And they played so much zone. They played aggressive in the gaps on Shea. They really, tried to take away Shea and force the role players to step up. I think it's going to be very similar. I really do. Rudy Gobert, obviously, in the pick and roll coverages, is probably going to have to creep up on SGA a little bit. You cannot give up that switch. You can't give up a lot of switches, to be honest. Like Randle, you can't give up that switch. Naz Reid, you can't give up that switch. So I don't expect much switching at all from the Wolves, and I do expect a fair bit of zone sprinkled in, especially in the non-Rudy minutes. Wolves, there's a stat out there that the Wolves so they played 4 times against OKC in the regular season, and like half of the minutes that they logged zone defense were literally against that team. So yeah, the Wolves had a lot of guys out, but it just like I said, it's a copycat league. This Denver defense that is very mediocre to bad looked very, very good for pretty much all the series. Their half court defense, at least against OKC, by playing zone and forcing others to step up. And I think we see a fair bit of that being similar. So yeah, man, like I said, there's going to be very little switching, I really think, because like I said, in the Rudy minutes, you can't switch that. Like the Randall minutes, you can't really switch that either. So yeah, I think there's going to be pretty minimal switching, especially with Shea as the handler. So yeah, man, Shea's assists are interesting to go back to. Like I said, I do think it's going to be pretty similar to the Denver series, and I know that it wasn't great for assist totals in this Denver series, but 21 potential, 17, 24, 19, 12, 15, 20. And that was good defense against the Thunder in the half court. So yeah, I think that it's going to be pretty similar, where it's going to be very tough on Shea. They're going to throw a lot of bodies at him. Individual matchups, obviously, like Shea, you got good guys to put on him. You got Jaden, Nikhil, Anthony Edwards maybe from time to time, Jalen Williams. I think Anthony Edwards is going to be on Jalen Williams for the most part, so that's going to be brutal for him. Ant locked in on the ball is very tough to score on. So going to be tough for J-Dub, I think, in his isolation situations. Like I said, I think they're going to turn Shea into a passer. So you could really sell me on all these guys. Caruso, obviously you're buying high a little bit on Caruso probably. But like I said, I think that they're going to play a fair bit of zone. He's going to get some looks out of there. Going to get guarded by, the worst, or going to probably get guarded by, the worst defender a lot of times. So he'll be brought into actions. Lou Dort, guys, I love Lou Dort in game 1. I don't know about for the series, but if we go to threes, so I mean, obviously this is juice. You don't want to play this at all, I don't think. But just his home road splits are so crazy, man. Like I said, this just like last 30 games at home, 24 out of 30, away, 15 out of 30. You can go to like the playoffs. Obviously that's at home, and then on the road. He just shoots the ball so much better at home. I think that Lou Dort is pretty clear cut in a way the best person to put on Ant. Like honestly, he's just like Ant's so strong, and I could see him struggling with Dort from time to time. I think Lou Dort's going to be needed. I think OKC might just lean into small ball too, to be honest with you. One of my takes on here. So obviously, like I said, guys, this is Dort on the road. This is Dort at home with his PRA. I think it actually does matter to an extent. You're getting a nice buy low after that 17-minute game. And I don't expect that to really continue, especially into game 1. But yeah, Isaiah Hartenstein, guys, I'm a big fan of him losing minutes this series. I just don't see the need for it. I think that playing 2 out of 3 of Dort, Caruso, and Wallace will prove to be much more effective. You want to force turnovers against this Wolves team. Those guys are probably just like more impactful players, if we're being honest as well. Hartenstein's also in a great sell spot because took them until game 7, but they were just really playing Hartenstein a ton of minutes to match Jokic and stuff like that. But you don't need to. You can go small against the Wolves, even with Rudy on the court, because he's not going to hurt you on offense, right? It's been the knock against Rudy against small ball is that he can't make small lineups pay, and definitely don't expect him to make a team that's like the best in the league at playing small ball defense pay. So I just don't see the need for Hartenstein this series, man. I wouldn't be shocked if he even comes off the bench in game 1. I know it's like maybe I would be a little bit surprised, but I wouldn't be shocked if you see Hartenstein average like 20 to 24 minutes this series, like genuinely, because if we go here, go to the playoffs in that Memphis series, obviously that was like a 51-point game, but he capped out on 27 minutes. And I remember this game 2 was pretty close, 25 in a game that was pretty close. And then, like I said, man, he only played 17 in that last game. They realized that Caruso can guard like the Randalls of the world. Caruso could really guard anyone on the Timberwolves, if we're being honest. So like they just don't need Hartenstein, man. Like Hartenstein was needed against Denver, and it was reflective in the minutes. And now he's just not going to be needed. So I think just based off of that philosophy, he's in like an interesting sell high spot. So yeah, that's my main take here. I don't have any official plays, but I do think that in game one, it's going to look somewhat similar defensively, schematic wise, to what Denver was throwing at them. Like I do think that they're going to make someone else beat them. I do think that they're going to mix in a lot of zone. And yeah, so yeah, I mean, zone's obviously great for all the role players, and I think it could look something similar to what Denver was doing. So yeah, that's my main takeaway, man. Like buying low on Dort from OKC. Still think that Shea assists are valid. Julius Randle, it wasn't an official play. I do like his rebounds and assists because we talked about him being used as a screener and finding open shooters, him being doubled on post touches when it's not Hardenstein, which, like I said, I don't think it's going to be a ton. So yeah, Julius Randle rebounds and assists. I'm a fan of that. Lou Dort, I like the buy number, at 12.5 PRA, or just like 1.5 threes, and then find, maybe like Randle 5 rebounds and Dort 2 threes. Like I'm a fan of that. So yeah, that's my thoughts on the OKC side of thing. It's kind of boring there. Last one, guys. This isn't at a lot of books, but Jalen Williams. I don't think Jalen Williams is going to see the floor. Like, so I mean, and that could be an issue, right? Like if he doesn't see the floor, then it's like, well, then you void the bet voids. I mean, that's not an issue though. It's not no win, no harm, no foul. I don't think Jalen Williams sees the floor unless it's like a very like a foul trouble spot minutes for like 2 or 3 minutes, or it's a massive blowout. But yeah, not a lot of books have this, but the only reason why Jalen Williams has played this in that Denver series was to guard Jokic, because they wanted like a big body on him for a while until that game 7. They realized they can just throw Caruso at him. And then in garbage time, right? So it's like Jalen Williams, I would be shocked if he gets like a non-foul trouble rotation minute. So it's like, yeah, there's going to be more outs for the under to win than the over to win, obviously, like if he's not going to be in the rotation. So yeah, this isn't at a lot of books, man. But if it was, this would be an official play. Jalen Williams under 4.5 PRA. So yeah, big fan of this, man. Like I said, I don't think he's going to be in the rotation. And last thing I guess I want to say on the OKC side of things, don't be surprised if Isaiah Joe re-enters the rotation. I just wouldn't be surprised about that. It's game 1. Isaiah Joe's been a vital part of this team all postseason long. So I would not be surprised if Isaiah Joe does re-enter the rotation, and that could maybe hurt these guys, the Caruso, Dort, Wallace, Wiggins. It could maybe make a couple of them specifically lose like 4 or 5 minutes. So that's the third and final thought I have on OKC side of things. But yeah. All right, guys. Well, thank you for tuning in. Like I said earlier at the start, make sure to drop a like and sub if you do enjoy this type of content. If you guys are listening on podcast form, make sure to drop a 5-star review. It is very greatly appreciated. And yeah, if you guys definitely didn't miss it, but the 2 official plays were Naz Reid over 16.5 PRA, -115 at Caesars, and Rudy Gobert under 20.5 PRA, -120 at Caesars as well. Very correlated, but I love it. And yeah, I obviously touched on all my leans as well. So could end up adding something in there too. Anyways, guys, go Wolves. Everyone, y'all got to be rooting for the Wolves, man. We got to knock off this OKC team. So yeah, go Wolves. Thank you guys for tuning in, and catch you guys tomorrow.